2, 1, let's jam.
Come on and jam and slam. Welcome to the jam.
Oh, okay. I was going Cowboy Bebop, but...
I knew what you were doing, but also I decided the Quad City DJs were what I needed today. So everybody get up. It's time to slam now.
Gotcha. I'm distracted now because you accidentally texted me and not Stephanie.
Oh, ha-ha! Yep. That's not the right text. Let me just copy.
Welcome to episode 47, where we can't even text the right person.
It's very difficult, Andrew. Very difficult. Phones, how do they even work? Who can say?
Well, that's a nice, interesting peek into your guys' relationship. So,
yeah, you're welcome. Enjoy.
Oh man, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
I haven't talked to you since the last podcast, basically.
I know, it's been a little bit. We're recording a teens early.
In the morning, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. So if someone seems tired or out of sorts, it's because it's early and we need more coffee or tea or what have you.
Yeah. But that's the case, you know. Just, you move on.
Yeah. You got to do it.
Get on through.
That's right. Get it done.
Other than trying to be murdered by, I think, poplar or oak trees, whichever one is now blowing through the wind. I think the only house minute that I have for you is that, you know that giant walled walkway in on the entrance to our house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The walls are no longer there.
Whoa.
Yeah. My daughter and I took about 2 hours yesterday and worked it out.
In like, you took the wall down?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Good point. That wasn't clear, but we haven't had any massive earthquakes, so it would have taken a lot.
Start. Yeah, yeah. I was not sure. But that's all right, man. Nice. What are you going to put there?
Well, nothing. I didn't like the look of the entryway to the house, so in an effort to seem like we were making accomplishments here, we took it down.
Took those little little wall things and we're like, nah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think already it looks better, even though there's like still brick debris everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cleaner look. Those little demi walls were weird.
Yeah, they're like weird raised beds or something.
Yeah. How many trips to Home Depot have you made?
A lot. A lot. Yeah. Yeah. So the actual construction of the bed is complete, except for the railing along the top, which I'm going to do today. But so the actual area where the dirt will go is done. And the trips to Home Depot have mostly just been to get soil.
Right. We discussed last week that we didn't think your vehicle would be large enough in one trip. In
a correct assumption, I can't fit more than 4 bags of that stuff in my car at once. Stephanie's car can do a little bit better, but not much. And not much at all if she also then has to put lumber or something in there.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's been a lot of on my way home from work every day I grab 2. So, it's filling up, it's maybe half or 2/3 full or something right now.
Thank God it's just soil and not fertilizer. You'd be on a watch list buying that stuff every day.
Yeah, someone would be like, "Hey, dude." But no, yeah, it's the raised bed mix stuff. So, yeah, it's coming along, I think the railing that I'm doing today is probably going to be the most engineering part of this, since it's going to involve screws and stuff.
So when you say railing, you're going to add a topper to it? What's the plan?
Yeah, because on the top now, right, it's just these square-ish bricks with slots in them that have wood, right? And the piece of rebar that went down through the bricks is flush with that. So I'm just going to take more wood, right, that like I have used for the sides, and put it on top so that there's instead of being vertical like these other ones are, this one would be horizontal, just so there's a little lip that you could set your tools or or sit on or whatever.
Oh, okay. I can picture it. Yeah. So you're going to have to do some 45 cuts.
No, not necessarily, actually. I looked at the way the Home Depot like website has it in their like example or whatever. And no, the block is slightly bigger than one of these is wide. So you set it down next to it like offsets correctly if you put one like just flat sideways and then you start the next one over a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Sense.
No, I see what you're saying. So your boards are going different directions.
Yes.
Got it. And
yes.
so
the 45 cut is probably would look nicer on the whole if I did that, but that seems complicated and I don't want to.
it would also maybe not cover as much.
Possibly, yeah. I would have to slide it farther out from the corner of the block, I think.
Or you could alternatively do 2x4s.
Yeah, that would probably also work. Anywho, I have to go out and measure all that stuff and get it done, and then get some wood screws and attach them to the other board so they don't just like flop.
Nice.
But yeah, that's my project for today, and that's kind of all I've been up to. The rest of it is just kind of work. So like normal work, not this.
Right on, man. Well, it's the middle of the Hearthstone. What's this? The Winter Classic, Winter Challenge, Winter Tournament.
Yeah. The Winter Championship or something. I don't know.
And
Andrew, the Bahamas that you desperately wanted to go to, and knew you never could, is now underway.
I don't mind them being in the Bahamas, and I understand like it's a big draw for their players to go somewhere nice. Just I'm less upset about the giving out the thing, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they can't assume that people are just going to show up because.
Well, at least some people showed up because, as I saw, there was at least a small audience of like 20 people.
Right.
So some number of people showed up.
But an audience of 20 people, really? Like, go somewhere where you can have an audience. We're in the middle of an esports, like, I don't know, a revolution would be a word, you know? The hundreds of thousands of people watch Overwatch every day on Twitch, and the packed stadiums to watch that, and Counter-Strike, and Hearthstone is equally as popular as those games. Yeah. I would like to see an arena of people like the old StarCraft days showing up to watch this stuff rather than like thinking about, you know, I don't know, who's a Hearthstone player? Pavel going to the Bahamas and hanging out in his Speedo or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't do that, but they could have. I don't think. From the little bit I saw of the broadcast, missing the crowd has not been too big a problem. You don't get people cheering all the time when they do the introductions or whatever, but whatever. It's not a big deal to me. I don't really care where the tournament takes place, I guess. As long as the production is good, and it has been, so. Right,
fair enough. Yeah, it's
at least in terms of stuff I'm watching, right? If I'm going to go live, I would like it to be cool or whatever, but this was never a choice for that, right?
Right, sure, and I think they knew it, but at this point you kind of expect their streaming to be top-notch quality. That's kind of their thing. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anyway, let's move on. I'm never going to win this argument because it's just an opinion.
Yeah, it's not an argument. It's just an opinion, man. And
they're using the tournament because of the timing for the release of the new set to release the new cards we should talk about.
Yeah, they are. We are deep into reveals season now. So we've gotten quite a few cards since the last info dump. And there are some interesting mechanics at play here. I think they have come up with some cool cards that do a lot of like new-ish type things.
I think the one thing that I can say from looking at all these now is Wild is actually finally going to get kind of wild in terms of the interactions that are now possible.
Yeah, there is some of these cards, not necessarily this set of 10 here that they released today, but other ones that have been released so far as part of this set that I am pretty sure are going to make a really broken deck in Wild. Like, pretty sure. So we will have to see if that comes to pass or not. I don't know. It could be really fun, or it could just be unplayably horrible. Who can say?
Okay, let's start with the Paladin card, because this is the type of stuff that worries me about this set.
Uh-huh.
The Lost in the Jungle summon 2/1/1 Silverhand recruits.
Yeah.
As far as I can recall, everything that supports Silverhand recruits and making them beefy is going to be rotated out.
Right. Quartermaster is rotating.
And the Knight Trainer or whatever it is, the guy, Silver Knight.
Yeah. No, the one that people already didn't play with also. Yeah, that guy's rotating.
Also the Divine Shield lady, like give your 1/1s.
No, I think she's from Whispers of the Old Gods, so I think she sticks around.
Okay, and then what about the other one, the 2/1 that gives something Divine Shield?
I think that sticks around too. I think that's also Whispers.
Okay, so half of the things that make Silverhand recruit decks even possible are rotating out.
Yeah, I don't know that this card is necessarily that good. It also has anti-synergy with the hand buffing stuff, or maybe positive synergy if you don't want your 1/1s to get buffed. I don't know. Not my favorite. It's like they realized how broken Muster for Battle was back in the day, and they're like, oh man, with 3 mana card that gives you a 1 mana weapon and 3 1/1s is too good. What if we print a 1 mana card that just gives you 2 1/1s? Is that going to be fair? I don't know. So this doesn't excite me.
No. This is.
It's actually like if you look at this card, it's like it's a directly worse Living Roots.
Oh, it's 100% like the math on this is Arcane Blast is 1 mana for 2 damage. We could do that kind of for Paladin, and maybe they can buff them. It's kind of like Arcane Blast.
Yeah. Not an exciting card.
This is the type of stuff that worries me, like about the game not getting better. But then there are cards like Mirage Caller, 3 mana, 2/3, choose a friendly minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. Not just like create, but summon. So summon effects would also take effect here. And it's so like better version of Barnes if you get this late game.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have to have the friendly minion on the board already to target. But, if you can stick 1 minion, and even copying a 1/1 of literally anything is probably good enough to play this, right? Like, you don't even care if it's something garbage and you're going to get nothing out of it. It's a free 1/1.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to copy this Cabal Talon Priest. He doesn't do anything, but he's a 1/1. I'll take it, right?
Yeah, man. It's going to be Priest's World, and we're just living in it.
It basically makes it a 3 mana 3/4, right? So
yeah.
And that's good stats.
Yeah, I think despite Dragon going away, they've got a chance to be good still over at Priest.
Yeah, there was a new card actually, also not in this set, but not revealed as part of this dump from Blizzard. It's a 3 mana 3/3. And the battle cry is, look at 3 cards, guess which one was in your opponent's deck, and you get a copy of it. It's a Priest epic.
My gosh.
Yeah. The 3 mana 3/3, not great stats. The battle cry gets you a card from outside of the game, which is cool. But you have to guess which one of the cards is from your opponent's deck. And so, in a lot of cases, you'll probably be able to guess based on what they're playing and, what's going on, what kind of deck they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would probably have a good chance of guessing correctly if you know the decks and stuff. But sometimes the game is going to give you the choice of swipe, innervate, and wild growth, which one is in their deck. And then you're like,
yeah.
They don't have all 3? What? So yeah. I think that's a cool card. Priest is getting some cool stuff this time, so.
All right, let's talk about the Hunter Quest.
Yeah. Play 7 1-cost minions, and the reward is Queen Carnassa, I guess? Apparently, they showed the animations for all this stuff in the stream, but I did not see it because I was asleep. Queen Carnassa is a 5-mana 8/8, which seems like most of these quests reward 5-mana 8/8s. And the battle cry on the 5-mana 8/8, which is a beast, I guess, worth pointing out. Shuffle 15 raptors into your deck.
The raptor is a 1-mana 3/2 battle cry, draw a card.
And it's also a beast.
Yep.
That's pretty cool and really powerful. Like, really good, man.
But it's not like their warlock. There's not a ton of good 1-mana hunter / neutral cards to be out there. And there's no draw mechanic really for hunter to keep playing 1-mana minions and not fall completely behind, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, let's name all the 1-mana hunter stuff that you can, right? It's like, okay, Alley Cat, Fiery Bat, those are the two that you want to play. What other good ones are there? You know?
Argent Squire.
Sure. The usual, like, neutral Leper Gnome or something, I guess, if you want to get aggressive. But, like, yeah, I don't... It's a difficult condition to fulfill without a lot of card draw and stuff, which Hunter doesn't really have.
Right.
And because it says play, not summon, stuff like Alley Cat doesn't count for 2. Stuff like you play that, what is it, the camel? There's a camel card.
2/4.
Yeah, that summons a 1, but that summons, right? So it doesn't count. So, you know, there's like Hunter, if that stuff was allowed, this quest would actually probably be too easy, I'm suspecting. That's probably why they said that. Because some of the other quests do say summon, and this one doesn't. So, I don't know. I like the idea, and the reward is really cool. And the fact that all the raptors draw you a card, because otherwise it would be like, oh, here's a 1-mana 3/2. That's your draw for the turn. You lose the game now. It's not good enough to draw that late game, right? But if you draw that late game and you play it, then you also get to draw another card. Okay, now it's good.
So there's a 5-mana card in the game for Rogue called Assassinate.
Yeah, there is.
Now there's a 5-mana card in the game called Assassinate plus get a minion.
It's not quite like that, though. Is the Vile Spine Slayer. It's a 5-mana 3/4 with combo destroy a minion. That card seems good. I don't know what else to say about that. I don't think Miracle Rogue would run this just because of the cost is so high and the stats are kind of bad for the cost. But the combo destroy a minion part, like in any kind of like mid-range or controlling rogue, is going to be amazing. Yeah, it's Assassinate on a card as long as you have a coin or something to activate the combo.
Which
rogues usually do.
They gave them an extra coin last set.
Yeah, I mean, I know. It's pretty good. People run it. Like you run it in Miracle Rogue because it's good. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
These are some pretty good cards.
That card seems real good. I actually want to talk for a second about the 3-mana 3/3 Gluttonous Ooze.
Okay.
Is this the first neutral card that gives someone armor? It has a battle cry, destroy your opponent's weapon and gain armor equal to its attack. That's a good effect. The stats on it are pretty good. If you ever thought you were going to play like Toxic Sewer Ooze, you were wrong. You could still play Acidic Swamp Ooze, because it's a little bit cheaper. But this effect not only blows up their weapon, it heals you, which is like a real screw you to Pirate Warriors. Oh, did you just hit me with that sweet axe? Nice, dude. Now I heal and blow up your axe.
Yeah.
Eat it.
You upgraded your 5/2 axe to a 6/3? Okay, well,
cool
I'm
story.
take 6 armor now.
And your axe is going away. Yeah. It's strictly better than the ooze they printed last set, which I think is funny. Mostly because of the armor and heal gain component. But I do think it is the first time there's been a neutral card that allows you to gain armor. So like some classes that were never able to gain armor now potentially could.
Let's talk about the art for a second. Is he swallowing dinosaurs?
It does kind of look like that, right? Like it's like a dinosaur inside the ooze.
So why is he only destroying weapons?
I don't know, man. Maybe he's just hungry. Maybe the dinosaurs are just passing through, or they're behind him.
Or yeah, they're behind him. That makes sense.
Yeah. You're looking through them at the dinosaurs that are running away.
Then there's that one dinosaur that's kind of jumping at the other dinosaur then. That's weird.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on in that art. Not going to lie with you. I want to real quick say the idea of living mana is cool, but I think that card is really bad.
Oh, no, there's no way.
There is a way. There is a deck that would be played in, but I don't think that deck is any good.
Could you innervate into this and then...
Yeah, you could.
And then poison seeds or something?
So here's what I think.
What the point of that is.
So, right, you play this, right? If your opponent doesn't kill anything, next turn you only have 1 mana. So you play this in like the Egg Druid like token rush deck, where you just have like 1 mana spells that give your guys +1/+1 or whatever. And you run a bunch of those, and so you transform your 5 or 6 mana crystals into 2/2 minions. Next turn you give them all +1/+1, and then you just go face.
I mean, yeah, it does give you 10 damage on turn 6, so
yeah, or play, I was going to say you play Savage Roar, but you can't because you just turned all your mana into 1/1s.
You could innervate into it.
You'd have to draw another card, though. Or if you had it in your hand already, I guess, yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Anywho, I think it's playable in that deck only and no other deck. And then someone is going to do that and then the priest is going to play Mass Dispel and silence all their guys, and they'll never get their mana back, and then they concede.
Oh, man. I didn't even think about Mass Dispel.
Yeah. All right, I just wanted to talk about that card because I think the effect is cool. It's a cool idea. I don't know that it's actually good, though.
Well, that woke me up a little bit.
All right, good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
Well, JJ, it's episode 47.
Hey!
Oh, geez. Well, I didn't get through much gaming since our last podcast. I've been doing my Hearthstone dailies, which is good. But there's been a decent amount of news this week, and I wanted to go into 2 or 3 stories with you, depending on how much time we have.
Okay.
And see what your opinion is on a few things. So let's lob it up with some softball gaming stuff first.
All right. I love news.
So the first one is news out of Ireland. I don't know if you heard about this, but Ireland is, decently popular with gamers, especially since Intel is the biggest employer in Ireland.
Okay.
They tried to run their first professional gaming convention. Much like, I don't know what, maybe TwitchCon or the old MLG style.
Or probably similar to the PAXs.
PAX, maybe, yeah. They held it in an arena that could hold a maximum of 9,000 people.
All right. That's a good number for first time.
They sold 24,000 tickets.
Now, Andrew, I don't know how math works necessarily, maybe, but was this maybe tickets are sold per day or something, and this is like a 3-day convention?
It was a 2-day convention.
Okay, so even if you assume that all the tickets are for 1 day and then for the next day, that would only be 18,000, and you said they sold 24?
Yep.
That's more than the maximum capacity. By a lot?
Uh-huh. More than that.
I'll just go ahead and assume that this went very poorly for them.
Yeah. They tried to do the entire thing with volunteers as well.
That's not professional.
No. So at one point they had about 4 people trying to organize a line of 4,000 people who were waiting outside in the rain to get inside.
That's not how you do conventions?
Rumors were that lines were 4 to 5 hours long to get into the convention.
Oh my god, it's a nightmare.
And they also used volunteers to set up all the computers and everything for inside of the gaming convention. They were going to have tournaments and everything else.
And that sounds
so
like that didn't go very well.
The communications people were also tasked with setting up all the computers and getting everything ready. And 2 hours before each tournament, every computer and game needed to be updated still.
Okay, so none of that stuff happened then, probably. Like, that is just some, like, bottom tier organizational effort right there, man. You gotta know, like, stuff has been, like, this has been going on long enough that if you put any amount of planning into this, you would have run into this stuff, like, immediately, right? You would think?
You would. I can't imagine how you wouldn't.
Update, if you're going to run a tournament, right, regardless of whether it's online or not, like, installing the game and, setting that stuff up beforehand is, like, the easiest thing to do, right?
Right.
You can't help it if they push a patch in the middle of your tournament or whatever, but assuming that they don't do that and you're just playing, like, installing the game and updating the consoles or whatever, like, beforehand, that's exactly the work a volunteer can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'm going to give you this PlayStation or whatever, plug it in, put this disc in there, install this game. When it's set up and running, let me know, and I'll give you another one. We got to do 40 setups or whatever. Like, that is perfect work for a volunteer.
Absolutely. If you had enough volunteers and they weren't
running
trying
the
to set
entire
up
tournament
cameras
is not a job for the volunteer.
Yeah.
Setting up cameras is not a job for a volunteer. Those are, like, things that you need people that are professional to do because they're good at them.
So their
like
system of figuring out how to make people feel better about this is that if you didn't, we forecasted the wrong traffic flow. Sorry about that. If you didn't have your badge scanned to get in, we'll refund you.
No, like, nah, dude. These people didn't know what they were doing. At least they're correct. If you never got in, we will refund you, I guess. I would feel like any company that never provided you a service should be forced to give that as the base minimum level of no service was provided, give me my money back.
Yeah.
Not the, like, we're sorry, here's an apology level.
I guess even the people that were inside were kind of like, well, once you were in, the lines inside were so long, there weren't enough computers, there weren't enough gaming stations, and there wasn't any place to sit down for the tournaments. So what did I receive? I walked into a building and walked back out.
Yeah, they really messed up, it sounds like.
I am just curious, in this day and age, with having seen things like TwitchCon, MLG, BlizzCon, PAX, did none of these people even, like, lift a finger to understand how those events are run?
Who knows? Obviously, we're not the organizers, and I don't think we know them. But it seems possibly that way, or they had people who were telling them, things based on certain things, and did not account for the fact that, usually these conventions sell out, and they do quite well. So I can't imagine that if your convention organizer that was helping you plan this stuff or something from the venue is like, oh, only like 70% of people show up per day because I'm used to running conventions for pharmacists and stuff like that. It doesn't quite usually apply to these kind of conventions, I think.
Yeah. What do you feel like they should do, I guess? Should they disband? Should they say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, we're going to try again? Like, do you feel like people should even bother trying to do their own, letting them try to do this again?
It's good to have these kinds of conventions, all over, right? It's not a bad idea that people want to do them. Obviously, this one was not run well, but that's not really... it is their fault, but it's not their fault for trying, right? I'm not against the idea of them running it, but it's just clear they didn't understand the level of undertaking that they were involved in, or they were, like, willfully ignorant of it. I don't know. They
did apparently boast on their website that they knew there were 20,000 people coming, and they knew the capacity of the building. So,
yeah, overselling a little bit, maybe I can understand. Like, that's fine. 2,000 people is a lot to oversell, but okay. But yeah, come on, man. like 24,000 people? That's just like being ignorant. Like that's just, there's no way that's going to work anywhere ever.
Do you think that the venue maybe should have been involved, or maybe venues should be involved in selling tickets? Like if you go to a concert,
they're not.
What's that?
Are they not? I would think they would be, right? Isn't the venue would be the one telling you how many tickets you could sell because they're the one with the seats or the space?
Well, but if you go to a concert, you buy through the venue, right? Like if you go to House of Blues,
right.
You buy through House of Blues to buy your tickets. It's not like when we go to Comic-Con, you buy through the San Diego Convention Center to buy your tickets. Should that be the case instead? So these organizers can't, next year, oh yeah, we've worked it out. We worked out the flow for people, so we're still going to oversell tickets.
So I think in some cases, overselling tickets is probably okay. It's like, say, for like a doctor's convention or something. Every doctor is not going to show up to this convention at the start and stay the entire time, right? And so, like, in terms of, like, flow of people or whatever, like, then that actually does make sense to oversell by some in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Where that idea breaks down is the fact that these gaming conventions don't work like that, right? People show up early because they want to be there the entire time.
Right.
And then,
especially if you're running tournaments all day.
Right, exactly. Or they want to stay to watch whatever, performances people are going to be there or meet their favorite streamers or whatever. Like, they're going to be there most of the time. So you can't really, those oversell numbers that maybe are predictable for other conventions don't track with this kind of convention.
It just shocks me that how could you not reach out to a gaming convention and say, hey, we're running a gaming convention. What's the flow through? Like, how many tickets should we sell? This is our capacity,
Yeah, yeah. And you would think that those other conventions would be down to, like, give you basic things like numbers like that. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Let's move on to another story in gaming. It's a little bit more theoretical. With the new virtual console coming for the Switch and the Wii U console, all that sort of stuff, having been decently popular, I guess is what I'll say, we still don't know if gaming, like games that you've bought on your Wii U, even though they're now associated with a Nintendo account, will come over to your Switch. One hopes this is the case.
I'll just go ahead and say probably not.
I will also say probably not, even though it really should be the case, and that's what I would hope. Someone on Kotaku maybe noticed a trend for the upcoming games that in Japan they've started releasing prices for the virtual console games. And they come in packages. They're selling like $50 bundles to start with for a lot of different collections of old games. $50 bundles for collections of old games.
Okay.
Reprints
like
of virtual tags of old, like games made in the 80s that you now buy.
You can buy copies of old games all the time, and like virtual copies of things. You could pay $60 on Steam for a virtual copy of a new game. Like the fact that it's a copy and a reprint of an old game is not indicative of its price.
Okay,
right?
so this is what I wanted to ask you about. Given that a lot of people may have to be forced to, if they want to play Virtual Console on the Switch, maybe rebuy things like, let's say you have Chrono Trigger on your Wii U or something like that, right? Like, you bought Chrono Trigger for your original system back in the day. You rebought it on the Wii U for $4.99, and then the Switch is coming, and let's say they're going to put Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and I don't know, like,
they're definitely not going to put Chrono Cross on there.
Why is that?
That was a PlayStation game.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Well, maybe they could get the rights to it. Whatever. I mean, let's say they put a package of these out and they're going to charge $49.99. Do you think that is good business? I mean, this article was mainly about whether old games, and it sounds like you agree, having a game be old doesn't mean it needs to be cheap.
So there are cases where I can see being willing to pay, at or around new game price for a group of old games. I don't know that there are single old games that I would ever be willing to pay that price for. But if you're going to give me 3, 4, 5, 6 or more games for $40, $50, yeah, there could be some games that I think some people would be willing to do that for. Yeah, it's about how much the game means to you and how much you want to play it on whatever this new system is, right?
Yeah, but it's like buying a TV package, right? I don't want History Channel 2. I just want ESPN. Why are you charging me $65 to get, all these different things that I don't... It's a question of why on a brand new system, especially if you're going to ask people to reapportion more money to get games they want to play. Obviously, you don't have to buy it. I'm not making the suggestion that it's, inevitable and you must pay the price no matter what.
Right.
You're making a decision. I'm just asking if it makes good business sense to continue to say even more now, old game prices should be higher because if I brought Chrono or Final Fantasy on my other console for $4.99 and now I can't even buy it unless I pay $60 because it's in a bundle, why would I pay that money?
Well, I think in that case you wouldn't, right? It's not like you took your old console and you burned it in a fire.
No, I know.
Just turn it back on and play it there, right?
But in terms of business sense, what sense does that make to make the assumption that people that have bought those games before at lower prices would then turn around because they have a new console and pay much higher prices and get games they don't care about to try and get their game again? This is probably the third time, right?
First, I don't know, but it depends what games you're talking about. There are some games that have never come out here, right? In the United States, right? If these were games that were previously unreleased, maybe they're from the 80s or whatever and they're old, but in that sense, it's a new game to this market, right?
Sure, but moving a unupdated version of a game from the NES, let's say, that never got printed to the Switch, I can understand saying, okay, well, this is the first time, and we're putting a bundle of these 3 games that had never been out before. Here's $40, for the bundle. We had to do a lot of work to make this, right? But having one guy port a game from the Wii U to the Switch that's already been out, and then upping the price on it because why?
Okay, well, let's first off start with maybe an assumption that you had there. There's not one guy, right? None of that can be done by one person. It's certainly more complicated than that, at the very minimum. Beyond that, regardless of the team or whatever that's involved in that work, I don't know the business behind how the Switch makes money or how Nintendo makes money. I can go ahead and tell you it trades a lot on nostalgia because all of Nintendo's stuff does. But how do the numbers work out? Does it make sense to charge more than $5 for an old game? Yeah, I'm sure it does if people are willing to pay it, right? There must be fans of these series and these games that are being bundled together, and those fans want to have copies of them everywhere they can. And so, someone is going to pay that stuff. Maybe you're not going to get people like you and me who wouldn't be willing to pay that price. But, I'm sure the digital store on the Switch or whatever one day will offer those games separately. And then you can just buy the one that you want for, $8.99 or whatever.
I want to just make clear to people out there that we're taking different positions in this because I can see this other side that I'm arguing for. But at the end of the day, it's Nintendo's property. They can do whatever they want with it. No one's forcing you to buy anything. And this doesn't irk me personally. I can understand why people are debating what the cost of this should be, et cetera, especially given the bundle idea. There's a lot of precedent in other media that exactly. If you go buy a first-hand version of a CD just because it was $10 on CD, 20 years later, if it's on iTunes, it's still $10 or whatever the inflated cost of that is, right?
Right. And it's not like a scarcity argument, but there is a first edition kind of argument, right? First the CDs in that case.
Sure.
So people are like, oh, I got the first printing of this like cool album or whatever. And like that becomes a commodity that people want to have.
Sure. And that's actually where I was going to go next, because I was going to make a point that while I can see people's arguments that games should be cheaper because they're digital and they're old and all that, and especially this argument about bundling old games and then charging more, I can see that point. I think actually my real like full opinion on this is, since I don't really care, I could see if they stick to their guns on this, which, there's no official word yet,
right.
But if they stick to their guns on this and they say, hey, to buy Final Fantasy, you've got to buy 1, 2, 3 in a bundle, 4, 5, 6 in a bundle, blah, blah, blah. I could see a world where, well, screw that. I'm going to go buy an, old Nintendo and buy the games because it's going to cost me the same amount of money. And then the price of those things are going to start to move up again.
Well, so I don't know if you know, but the price of old Nintendo games like SNES and NES era games have gone up quite a bit recently,
right?
Just in general. So the price of those is already probably more, especially for, well, really popular games are probably not that much, but marginally rare ones are definitely a lot more expensive than you would get in any kind of bundles like this. Mm-hmm. So, at least in terms of the like, hey, I want to go buy the original. And like, there are some people who will just always want the original, right? Just like we were saying with the CD. Oh, I want the first edition. I want the way it was when it came out. And they're going to go buy CRT televisions and frame meisters and little like gadgets that help them convert their signals to HDMI or whatever. Like all that stuff is always going to exist.
That's a good question about supply on the collector's side. There might not be enough, and therefore, they can identify games where there's not enough supply and charge more for those.
Right. So I know an example of this because I own an original copy of a game called Suikoden 2 for the PlayStation 1, which is a game, it's an RPG series, which was, I don't know, relatively well liked, I think. And I got that game for Christmas one year, and I was very happy. But it turned out that game did not get very many copies printed in the U.S. There was like 170,000 or something total.
Wow.
And so as a result, that game, if you try to buy a physical copy of the PlayStation 1 version of it, it's very expensive. You can't find copies of that really anywhere for like, it's a couple $100.
Mm-hmm. So they probably charge 50 or less maybe, but around their original price for it to get it digitally. Right.
Well, so actually, that's not the case, right? That the game is available on PSN for like, I want to say $9.99 or frequently on sale for $5.
So shouldn't they then up the price of that and lower the price? Like, why does everything have to be $9.99?
I don't know.
That's just an interesting mathematical question.
I don't know why they choose to price things where they do. Probably has something to do with Sony's platform charging them some amount of money per transaction, and they want to make money, and I don't know, whatever. But in terms of like bringing old games, but like regardless, right? $9.99 is a much cheaper entry point for a person who wants to play that game legally than someone who wants to go find a real physical copy of it. So, it is a better solution, right? Even to charge not $10, for a real, possibly overpriced $10 for a game, that came out a long time ago, but just isn't available. So in that kind of sense, it's good. I don't know what the quality of that port is versus the original game. I haven't done any comparisons or anything.
Cool.
They're going to charge what they think they can get away with, right? There's in the end, right? All these are companies. They want to make money. If they think they can get people to buy it, they're going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with you that it's really dumb that Nintendo games that you buy on Virtual Console don't carry over. And it really makes me never want to buy a Virtual Console game ever again, since I can just be assured that they're not going to do that.
I really hope they do. And that's, I guess, why I'm willing to take the argument maybe that the game should be cheaper to start with, maybe, like things that were available on Wii U Virtual Console for this first 6 months, have the prices of them, because some people, I will keep mine, but some people don't want to keep their older systems around.
Yeah.
And your games should move, and that they're trying to move towards that. obviously, with
Are
what
they?
they've done with the system, but come on.
I don't know that they are, though. Like, nothing about Nintendo's track record has ever led me to believe that they are willing to have any kind of modern, like, idea of ownership in a digital sense. So I don't trust them until I hear like definitive proof. Yes, this is how it's going to be, and that they're not going to try and resell me a copy of Metroid for the 73rd time.
Right.
Like I don't believe them, and I don't begrudge anyone who wants to play Super Metroid on the Switch and buys it again. Like, you should definitely do that. That game is great. Like, it's a fun game. You should definitely play it. But like, I can't do it, right? Like, I've played that game. I have it on my Wii U Virtual Console. I don't need to buy it again. Yeah. It's a mess.
So, JJ, we've also talked about net neutrality on this show before.
Yeah.
I.e. the process of us believing that the FCC should remain or make sure that ISPs remain a neutral service provider in terms of their adherence to communications style development of the internet.
Let me help you here real quick. It is the net neutrality is the idea that all data should be treated equally by the ISPs and other entities on the internet. Just like data is data, don't prioritize, don't try to say some is better than others, just treat it all the same.
An analogy would be if you used your phone. Every phone call you make, no matter who you make it to, is the same, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
Except for 911.
Correct. We talked about our opinions on that before. We haven't really talked about, and what has come up this week and in a related field, I guess, is internet privacy, which is kind of directly connected in terms of how service providers are treated. This week, there was a vote in the Senate to allow the FCC to scale back their privacy protections for internet service provider customers to that equal to the Federal Trade Commission, who oversees companies like Google and Facebook, who are also allowed to collect data on you. The argument being that guidelines shouldn't be different for different companies in terms of internet privacy, and so these companies should be allowed to be treated. Time Warner, etc., should be allowed to be treated just the same as a Google or a Facebook, and therefore, essentially, they have said now that your web use data, the IP addresses you visit, aka the websites you visit, everything you kind of do on the internet is now theirs to track and most likely sell.
Yep. I don't think this is controversial when I say that I don't like this. But I understand the argument, right?
No, I don't.
So you got to think of it in a way that maybe you're not okay with Google and Facebook doing the same thing, and I guess that's fine. But any website that you go to, right, tracks everything that you do on the website.
Okay.
Right. And they take that data and create some kind of profile of you, the person who just visited their website. Maybe they don't know your name. Maybe they just know your IP address or your login or whatever. They take that data and they say, "Oh, Amazon, you clicked on these 3 things. Okay. And this is the kind of stuff that you have bought in the past. So, okay, well, I'm going to make a profile of this person." And then they can say to advertisers, "Hey, we have a person on our site that likes these things. Do you have products you would like to sell to this person?" And they don't do it at that kind of a granular level, but if they would, roll them up into bunches or whatever, and then say, "Hey, here you go. Would you like these kind of products?" So are you okay with that process?
I'm perfectly fine with that process, as well as Facebook and Google gathering data on me, and you know why.
Yes, I do know why, but I want to make sure that you understand the logic here.
The logic doesn't track to me beyond websites because it's an unequal application, right?
So do you think that it's fair that like they do the same stuff with apps on your phone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you're okay with it there as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so now I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're going to get to the point that it seems that the lawmakers missed, where you don't have a way to access these websites without the internet service provider.
Boom. The argument they have made is that, oh, well, they need to be able to keep up with all these other companies. What do you mean keep up?
Yeah, they're not in the same
You're not
business.
in the same business. That would be the application of this. Imagine you put it in a brick and mortar, right? Like, yeah, you went into Amazon and they advertise to you based on what you do there, right? Like they track everything you do. You're on Amazon and they know what you're doing. That'd be like if you walked in to, I don't know, what's a like hot button store, American Eagle, right? If I walk into American Eagle and immediately upon my entry to that store, a sales associate is going to walk up to me and ask me what I'm interested in today. What am I there to look for? Can I help you find anything? That's essentially what they do with cookies on a website. What can I help you find? Right?
Okay. But that's not the analogy.
No, that's the analogy for why I'm fine with Amazon and Google and all these things doing that. I walked into the store.
Okay.
You're allowed to send a sales associate up to me and ask me if I need help. I walked into your store.
Right. Yeah.
On the street, walking to the store, if I look at Best Buy or think about what I might need from the grocery store, no one's standing over my shoulder watching me to see what I'm looking at on my way in there, and then selling that information to that company or calling that company so that Best Buy can run after me with a sales associate and try and drag me into the store.
Okay. To be clear, I'm absolutely on your side in this. This is I think the analogy you made is a little bit flawed, but it's pretty close. It would be like the idea of you're driving to a place, right? And someone is monitoring everywhere you go while you're driving, not the places that you go, but like the path and the destinations you take, and when you stop for coffee on your way to the store, and then selling that information to the stores or other advertisers.
I'm going to be even more frank about it. Imagine making a phone call.
And then also selling like where you live and stuff, because they know that now too.
Imagine making a phone call, right? You call your mom.
Okay. I don't know how to imagine making phone calls.
I know,
anymore.
right? Not just texting.
Yeah, I don't know how phone calls work.
Okay. But for some people that can't maybe wrap around why we would be upset about this, you make a phone call to your mom and you tell her, Mom, my car broke down. I need, some cash to get it fixed. Right? It's an old car. You guys commiserate about it, etc. Your phone company knows that you called your mom. That's all they know. There's no data to sell there. You called your mom. Imagine instead that this service provider listened to your call, knows your car broke down, it was an old car and that you need a new one, and then called up the 15 closest used car dealers and said, for $5, I'll tell you who needs a new car.
Yep.
So the minute you get off the phone with your mom, you've got used car dealers piling on to you while you're trying to get your old car fixed. That's essentially what they're doing. You go to a website that says, I'm interested in buying a used car, and all of a sudden they're selling that data, saying, hey, this person visited 10 websites thinking about buying a new car. You should go advertise to them. You should call them. You should, because they've got all this information on you. And that's a private thing. Like, I'm thinking about a new car. It doesn't mean that I want somebody else to know that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a problem. I agree.
I can think of more problems. Let's run through another scenario.
Okay.
I create a marketing company. I am actually the DNC or the RNC, but it's a separate marketing company. And I purchase browsing data for basically everyone I can get my hands on. And let's say a gentleman, that or a lady that decides to run for public office is a recovering alcoholic, has been for 5 years, and they go to meetings on the internet. They go to websites to discuss their trials, their needs, to discuss in anonymity that they had a bad day today and they really wanted a drink and all these sorts of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's private. Meetings happen privately in person. They should happen privately when you need them to happen privately over the internet as well. But now that data can be sold and used against someone because it's not private. How's that okay?
I don't know. I'm not going to try and advocate for a position that I don't believe in.
No, I know. It's rhetorical based on us talking about it. But at the beginning of this, you tried to help make their position. So maybe I was trying to see if you could fit that into the framework of what they were saying, but I can't do it.
No, the difference is that, right, the key difference, right, is that Google and Facebook and these kinds of things are entities that you can't access without an internet service provider, whether that's your phone company through your smartphone or the ISP that you pay for, Spectrum or AT&T or Charter or whoever. So because you can't access the internet without those gateways, right? The gateway then has the ability to stop you from accessing any of that content, right?
Yeah, this becomes
when the gate is open, you have a choice, right? You're like, hey, I can go through this gate. I can talk to Facebook. I can go to Amazon. I can go to Google, whatever. Now, Google and Facebook and Amazon can sell that data to each other if they want to. That seems like something a reasonable company could do with information that they have. I don't know why they would want to help their competitors with it, but hey, they could, right? That's not illegal, I don't think. If they want to say, hey, we have customers that look like this. Do you want to sell stuff to us based on that? I don't know, like we'll give you this customer's data or something. I don't know how that is useful to other people, but if Google and Facebook want to make a deal with each other where they sell each other's data back and forth, whatever. But if the gateway wants to stop you or wants to also sell that data, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense, right? I don't see how it improves the gateway's business other than to give them a new stream of revenue that they would not otherwise have had to be able to sell that information that you went to Google and Facebook both, right?
Right. And I don't even want to get into the free speech argument here where, apparently according to the Supreme Court, if you're super rich, you can hide who you are behind your free speech, aka your money. But normal average people who use the internet are not allowed to be anonymous.
That's not how that decision works, Andrew.
What do you mean?
You being super rich has nothing to do whether you can hide your
people
identity.
Yeah, all people can do it. Right. Sure. Yeah.
It just might cost a lot of money. And also the fact that the structure of hiding people's, this is completely off topic, but that is an incorrect statement. It is not. The hiding is divorced from the money being speech, and money being speech is one thing, and hiding who people are is a separate thing. They go together, but they're not required to be together.
Well, more than that, let's talk about HIPAA, right? A lot of people do their prescription shopping on the internet to try and, I'm required to use, if I want any long-term prescription, or my health insurance makes me go to a website and plug in all the information there. Mm-hmm. So they can now sell my HIPAA protected data? Or you're going to make them go through every single person's internet history and scrub their HIPAA protected data?
Yeah, one would think they would have to comply with the law, right? I mean, that stuff is not allowed to be shared. The doctor-patient level stuff is not supposed to be shared beyond certain like requirements.
So now every single person's data has got to get combed through. This is insane. It's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, look, man. Computers are pretty good at combing through data. I'm not really I don't think that the ability. It's not an inability on their part to do that, right?
No, but it's just talking about
they could now, but will they? I don't know.
I don't know. I know that we're both on the same side of this, and I just get too worked up about it to make this one a blog post because I think people should hear it.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and I encourage people to voice their opinions to their elected representatives and congresspeople and senators and whatever else you have.
Mm-hmm. Consider donating to the ACLU, who I'm sure will be fighting this. Whatever. Donate to whoever you think is going to make a difference. I would, make sure people know that you don't necessarily agree with this and you think it's a bad idea. I'm going to lighten it up at the end here.
All right.
Closing out the show, I have a thing that I watched this week.
Watched?
Oh, yeah. I had time to watch a thing.
A thing?
Mm-hmm. And you should watch it too, JJ, when you get a chance.
I love things.
The new Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy specials.
Oh, I've been wanting to watch it so bad. Okay, tell me.
I'm going to start with my complaint.
It was too short.
No, there's two of them. They're not too short. They're each an hour long.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're about the right length for a comedy special.
All right. Yeah,
and they're not sketches, so it's not like...
It's just stand-up, right?
It's very clear in the first one that he's nervous and out of practice. He does a lot of looking down at notes, and a lot... He, literally the entire first one had his hand rubbing the front of his shirt up and down the whole time. It was very distracting. Okay.
Nervous tick.
Yeah, it was nervousness, I think, on his part, not wanting to come out the gate, weak. And I'm not sure that he did anything before Netflix convinced him to do some comedy specials in terms of getting his feet wet again.
He'd been on Saturday Night Live recently.
Yeah, one for hosting one time.
Yeah. I'm just saying he's done some stuff.
Oh, yeah. But I don't know. I didn't look into how much he's done before this. I'm not saying that he didn't.
Okay.
But it seemed to me that those would be things that I would do if I were on stage in front of people and I was very nervous. Right?
Yeah.
Moving beyond that, because it's unimportant. He's an old man at this point. He's been gone a decade for people that didn't know. He used to have, huge stand-up movie and comedy career on Comedy Central. He had a show as well. Big deal.
He retired, or disappeared kind of at the height of his fame almost.
Yeah, essentially just said, this is too much and I don't want it. So he's back, and though older and having taken on normal life for 10 years, the jokes are not the same, but I would say that I think he's still got it.
It's still funny?
The jokes are definitely more, I guess not our age group, but he's a little bit older than us. So if you were, in your 40s making jokes about being in your 40s, that's kind of it. It's less ridiculousness, I would say,
Okay. But it's still funny.
I thought it was still funny. The first one was a little rougher than the second one.
You didn't come out when I asked, was it still funny? You then evaded and talked about something else, and that got me worried for a sec. I wasn't sure that it was still funny.
I was thinking in the back of my head, because I can't answer that for some people. Some people are going to expect him to be up there doing his wily antics voices and popping and bouncing around, and is more in the vein of what you would see from older comics.
A normal stand-up comedian, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I can accept that.
Which I can accept
as long as the jokes are pretty good, I think I can get behind that.
They're a little rough at some points, but he's taking more of a later life view at some of the problems rather than the farcical nature that he used to put on race relations and things like that. He's putting out there just straight up ideas in some places. So I don't know when I answered your question about, or when I didn't answer your question about whether it's funny or not, I didn't know how to answer for some people. Some people won't find it as funny, I don't think.
Well, you can't be everyone. You just got to be yourself.
Yeah.
And if you laughed, then that's good enough for me.
Okay. Well, if you liked Dave Chappelle and you, like me, have gotten older and don't mind the fact that he has gotten older, I would say to watch them.
wait, hold on. If you liked Dave Chappelle 10 years ago when Dave Chappelle was still a thing, and you continued to age since that's how time works, then you might still like Dave Chappelle now that you're older? Is that the...
JJ, some people's physical age and some people's mental age.
Okay. I gotcha.
I don't know if I need to lay this exactly out for you.
Okay. I gotcha. The way you said it, like, I was like, you can't stop time, Andrew. We're all getting closer to death every day. That's just how it works.
The body may desert you, but the mind,
I gotcha,
may not always have to pay a mortgage.
I gotcha.
How about that? How about this? If you used to like Dave Chappelle and you now pay a mortgage, you'll still like this.
Okay. Sure. But if you pay rent, you're going to hate it.
I don't know. Depends on where you're paying rent.
Okay.
If you're in a New York penthouse paying rent, you probably won't like it.
I gotcha. Well, I'm happy to hear that it turned out good. I knew he was going to do those, but I didn't know they were out already. So yeah. That's good news for me because now I have something I can watch.
Exactly. Well, there you have it. A little bit long episode because we had a lot to talk about. But I think we nailed it, JJ. I don't think we got anything wrong. No one can argue with anything we said. Boom.
Put a nail in it. And if they want to tell us how right we were about everything, where would they do that, Andrew? Well,
you should leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Look up We Were Gamers, which you've already subscribed to either on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or Waterfront or I don't know. Well, we should make a platform called
carrier
Waterfront.
Pigeon service that delivers you a tape of this podcast.
Gosh, I hope not. Anyway, you can find us all over the internet at weweregamers.com or facebook.com/weweregamers or twitter.com/weweregamers or Instagram, the app, because I don't think the .com really does much of anything for you.
Nope.
I don't think we're on Snapchat, but I don't even know how that works.
I don't know. Anywho, We Were Gamers at all the places. Get at us if you need to get at us.